Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a true crime anomaly that absolutely defies all logic and, frankly, goes against every standard police procedure in the book. We're looking at a case that started out incredibly strong. We're talking about an ironclad missing person investigation overflowing with clues. Every single detective working on it firmly believed they were just days away from solving the mystery. But then, without warning, the entire case inexplicably erased itself overnight. We're going to break down exactly how one of the most promising investigations in recent history became one of the coldest cases on record. So, the crucial question we're analyzing today is this. How does a foolproof investigation completely erase itself overnight? This is really an inverted mystery. We aren't just looking at the disappearance of a man, we're examining the sudden, terrifying collapse of the police case itself. The biggest question here quickly shifted from who committed the crime to how did an entire police investigation just go completely silent. Section 1. An investigation goes dark. Section 2. The night Daniel vanished. To really grasp how bizarre this failure is, you have to understand the victim. Daniel Carter was a 32-year-old journalist living in a peaceful suburban town, where families literally left their doors unlocked and serious crime was pretty much unheard of. Daniel was incredibly reliable. His phone was always charged, he never missed family dinners, and he always communicated his plans. He was so dependable that his simple failure to return home after a routine interview instantly signaled to his family that something was terribly, terribly wrong. And that is why the rapid, urgent escalation of those critical early hours is just so alarming. Let's walk through the timeline. At midnight, Daniel misses his curfew without a word. By sunrise, his wife's concern turns to full-blown panic. Police initially suspect a car accident, checking local hospitals and highways. But by late afternoon, a patrol officer actually finds Daniel's car parked by an old industrial warehouse nearly 15 miles away. Over the next 48 hours, investigators hit the ground running. They conduct over 100 interviews with friends, family, coworkers. They were moving incredibly fast. What's truly eerie here is the state of that crime scene. When they found his car at that warehouse 15 miles away, it was perfectly intact but completely abandoned. The doors were left unlocked, his wallet was still sitting inside, his laptop bag was resting right there on the passenger seat, totally untouched. There were absolutely no signs of a struggle or any damage to the vehicle. The only physical clue investigators found was a single muddy footprint leading toward a nearby wooded area before the trail just vanished completely. Now, it wasn't enough to identify a suspect, but it definitely proved the trail was fresh. Section 3. A trail of clues. The initial crime scene was mysterious, right? But the real breakthrough came when detectives shifted their focus. Once they stopped looking at Daniel's personal life, which by all accounts was completely ordinary and financially stable, and started looking closely at his recent journalistic work, they found a massively compelling motive. Daniel wasn't just covering local town hall meetings anymore. He was investigating deep-rooted allegations of corruption. According to his editor, Daniel believed he was on the verge of exposing illegal financial transactions connected to highly influential, powerful local business figures. And even more alarming, he had been receiving anonymous warnings telling him to stop asking questions. See how this builds into something truly chilling? Detectives secured his office, recovered deleted emails and encrypted files, and found notes about secret meetings. But in one notebook, written just days before he vanished, they found this prophetic quote: "If anything happens to me, the truth is already out there." When this discovery was made, it thrust the entire case into the national spotlight. News stations were covering it daily, and hundreds of tips started flooding the police hotlines. Because of all that public attention, the clues started stacking up rapidly, and, they were incredibly solid leads. Just listen to this. Security cameras captured a dark SUV actively following Daniel's car hours before he vanished. A gas station employee distinctly remembered seeing Daniel arguing with an unidentified man in a gray jacket. And phone records revealed multiple calls from a never-before-traced prepaid number. Investigators had vehicles, they had witnesses, and they had burner phones. They firmly believed they were right on the cusp of a major breakthrough. Section 4. The Midnight Sabotage. Now, detectives walked into headquarters one morning, fully expecting another day of analyzing this mountain of evidence, only to face a terrifying 24-hour window where the case just died. Every single piece of promising evidence we just talked about was systematically and inexplicably neutralized. It's almost as if someone flipped a switch overnight to just turn the lights out on the entire investigation. Just think about the statistical impossibility of this simultaneous collapse. The surveillance footage of the businesses near the warehouse? permanently corrupted overnight. That key witness who had agreed to testify suddenly refused to speak, and another witness actually fled town entirely. The fingerprints pulled from the car contaminated during lab processing, rendering them completely inconclusive. And that prepaid phone number, it stopped connecting entirely. Within less than 24 hours, practically every major lead just evaporated. It begs the ultimate question, doesn't it? Was this astronomically terrible luck? Or was it deliberate, calculated sabotage?
Section 5. Unanswered questions add inconsistencies.
As the official police case stalled out, the investigative team downsized, boxes of documents were shoved into storage, and evidence boards literally gathered dust. Internet sleuths and independent journalists kept digging, and they found specific inconsistencies that were never fully investigated at the time. For instance, that single muddy footprint, it actually appeared slightly larger in later evidence photographs compared to the ones taken just minutes prior. Furthermore, a maintenance worker later claimed he saw unfamiliar utility vehicles parked at that warehouse the night before Daniel's car was found, a lead that was, for some reason, never chased down. Even original investigators later admitted that massive opportunities were missed during the chaos of those early days. And that brings us to this absolutely crucial number, 72. In the world of missing person cases, criminologists agree that the first 72 hours are the most critical window. That's when evidence is fresh, it's when witnesses clearly remember faces, and when surveillance footage hasn't been taped over, or in this case, mysteriously corrupted. The absolute tragedy of Daniel Carter's case is that those precious 72 hours were initially filled with immense promise, only to be entirely wasted by an unprecedented string of failures. Which leaves us with this incredibly sobering reality. The investigation into Daniel Carter remains open on paper, but cold in reality. His car is one of the few physical reminders that he ever made it to that warehouse, and his final handwritten note sits alone in a police storage locker. It's a stark reminder that investigations can fail not necessarily from a lack of police effort, but because physical evidence disappears, witnesses are silenced, and time quietly erases the path to the truth. So I want to end this explainer by turning it over to you with a final provocative question. Look at all the facts we've laid out today. Was this simply a tragic loss of momentum, a perfect storm of human error and bad luck? Or was this a deliberate cover-up orchestrated by someone determined to keep Daniel's corruption story hidden forever? Did the truth just slip away, or was it intentionally silenced overnight? Let me know what you think. And as always, keep